What happens when you have a nation that is predominantly Islamic, where the majority of the population are Muslim, where you have small pockets, like 1 to 2% of minorities that aren't Muslim, and your nation does everything it can to implement Sharia law as accurately and as faithful to the Quran and Hadith as possible? You get places like Pakistan. Now, it's no secret that Christians for a long time now have been persecuted by both the Pakistani state as well as the individuals in Pakistan. Not long ago, we had the case of Aisha Bibi, a Christian woman of whom was persecuted both by the state and by the Muslim population. There are attempts to lynch Aisha Bibi, supposedly simply because she says something bad about Muhammad. No one can prove this, by the way. You have to take another Muslim's word that this actually happened. And because of this, there were lynching attempts to take her life. She had to flee the country after being forcibly withheld for a long period of time, before eventually managing to get asylum in Canada. Now, if you ignore all the rapes, the forced kidnappings, the forced conversions, the killings, the lynchings, the attacks from mobs, so on and so forth, you're generally left with desecrating churches, which is what has been happening in Pakistan for the last so many weeks.
It was a dark day for Pakistan when Bibles were burned, churches were set ablaze in Faisalabad's Jadawala on 16th August 2023. Rumors of blasphemous acts sparked the outrage, though its veracity remains uncertain. But what was clear was the horrific sight: people brandishing sticks and stones with plumes of smoke ascending from sacred grounds. Over 15 churches, including Catholic Church, the Salvation Army Church, and the Pentecostal Church, were torched. Hundreds of Christian homes lay in ruin. Christians, terrorized and accused, fled as their homes and sanctuaries were besieged. At the center of this mayhem was a Christian named Raja Amir, accused of desecrating the Quran. Amid the chaos, the government summoned the army, desperate to restore peace. National leaders, including acting Pakistan Prime Minister Anwar ul Haq Kakkar, expressed their anguish and vowed justice. Bishop Azad Marshall's plea echoed the community's sentiments. We cry out for justice. Our lives are valuable in our homeland. Over the years, violence against minorities in Pakistan has surged. A particularly heinous crime occurred last year with the brutal killing of Christian clergyman William Siraj. Discrimination against minorities is rampant. Once comprising nearly 15% of the urban population, minorities reportedly now represent less than 4%. Christians in the Sunni majority nation are even smaller in fraction. Blasphemy accusations are dangerously common. Asif Parvez, for example, was sentenced to death in 2020 after being jailed for 7 years on such charges. In 2018, 4 Christians were shot in Quetta. In 2017 and 16, separate attacks in Quetta and Lahore killed 7 and 70 people respectively. Lahore was again targeted in 2015, resulting in 14 deaths. In 2013, Peshawar church blast claimed 127 lives. Early incidents include the 2009 Kochra attack in which 8 were killed, and the 2005 Faizabad violence where churches and schools were razed. These tragedies, often rooted in blasphemy allegations, frequently arise from personal disputes or economic motivations. According to Siegfried Owulf, the director of research at South Asia Democratic Forum, religious minorities, including Christians, are facing severe discriminations in numerous Muslim-dominated countries. Yet, in no country are Christians so systematically and institutionally persecuted and victimized as in Pakistan.
Supposedly because someone had burned the Quran, something which happens on a daily basis all over the world, particularly in Sweden. And yet, if there is simply a rumor of such a thing happening in Pakistan, this apparently gives warrant to the local populace, supposedly around 4,000 people, to go and attack Christian churches, burning them with gasoline, terrifying both the adult and child residents and attendees at these churches who had to flee for fear of their lives, as the local Muslim population decided to get all of the Bibles and burn all of the Bibles. This didn't just stop at churches. I'm going to show some pictures on the screen of what the aftermath of those churches looked like as a result of a rumor that 2 people were responsible for burning a Quran. But it didn't just stop there. It also went, as it always does, because this is what happens in predominantly Islamic nations. It wasn't just the churches, it then extended to people's homes. So the congregation, their own homes were targeted and ransacked and burnt, all in the name of Allah. This is clearly a religiously motivated attack. This is the enforcement of blasphemy laws that have been implemented in Pakistan as a legalistic method of persecuting Christians without any real pushback or limitation. So to give you an understanding of this, whenever the blasphemy laws are engaged or they're put to use and someone is charged for blasphemy, let's say for example someone accuses them of burning a Quran, in practice they're never actually going to be executed for this. That is the legal ruling to anyone who commits blasphemy, is that they should be executed. Alternatively, they can be put in prison for life, but the primary punishment is death, capital punishment. So while this is enforced in that they will be charged under these laws, no one has yet ever been directly executed by the state as a result of committing blasphemy. And you might be thinking, oh, that's great. That shows that at least the state isn't killing anyone. Well, if you have a lynch mob of thousands of people who are already willing to do this for you, who in practice have done this, continue to do this every time there is an accusation of blasphemy, then in practice you don't need to get involved. You simply act as a bystander. You inform the people that someone has been charged under blasphemy laws, if you even need to do that. And you watch the fireworks go as thousands of Muslims proceed to act in a way that is disgusting, belittling, and just downright evil, to be honest with you, as they kill, maim, burn, pillage, rape Christian brothers and sisters of any age. Regarding Aisha Bibi, I want to read this quote because I think it puts it in good context. 5 days after the incident, a local Muslim leader, Hurai Salem, jumped into the matter and pressured some people in the area to claim that she committed blasphemy. When finding no way to get to Miss Bibi to confess, Salem used the loudspeakers of the mosque, as other Muslim leaders usually do in the cases of alleged blasphemy acts. In other words, this isn't the first time that they use the loudspeakers at the mosques, because the mosques are more than happy to comply, to spread the news of blasphemy and instigate the people of the locality to punish the alleged blasphemer. The people of the locality beat her severely in the presence of her own children. There is no humanity when Islam dominates a nation. When Islam dominates a nation, what you are left with is the stripping of the human soul. Compassion, empathy, dignity don't exist. Or to put it another way, the D in Islam stands for dignity and the P in Islam stands for peace. If you think that maybe this is just a one-time thing or something that happens relatively infrequently, and if you just ignore that, there is not real persecution of Christians in Pakistan, then I would suggest you look at the tendency in Pakistan to employ Christians in the lowest form of jobs possible. It's been stated that around 80% of the lowest form of manual labor and the most dangerous of jobs, about 80% of those are occupied exclusively by Christians. Christians are encouraged to work in jobs that are considered beneath Muslims, so they can be mocked, ridiculed, and put into an early grave.
To this day, every cantonment city in Pakistan has an area known as Lal Kurti. This is where Christians reside and do odd jobs at the households of generals. Jobs like laborers, cleaners, farmhands. According to one report, in fact, 80% of sanitary positions in Pakistan are held by Christians. 80%. Have a look at this report now. It's from December 2021. Let me quote what this Pakistani newspaper said about Christian workers. The Christian cleaners have kept the sewer system moving in Karachi's enormous part metropolis by unclogging decaying drain pipes of feces and dangerous hospital waste.
There's even a derogative term that Pakistanis call Christians, which roughly translated means dirty Christian. Again, this is what happens when you have an Islamically dominated nation. You end up with some of the most worst and defiling of human dignity behavior that you will ever see across the globe. You don't see this in Christian nations. You don't see this even in atheist states. You see this in Islamic states. You see this in places where the government has a commitment to enforcing the abhorrent and evil and demonic laws that are found primarily in the Quran and the Hadith. What will be the result of this? Do you think that the Muslims will win? That they will actually kill all of the Christians in Pakistan? Nope. For the same reason that they haven't managed to kill all of the Christians in Pakistan. There are still Christians in Pakistan today. There are still Christians that, even in the face of extreme persecution, don't relent, don't abandon their faith. And ultimately, Christ is the victor, the one who has the glory, the one who wins in the end. The caliphate is dead. The church still reigns. The population boon that is found primarily in poorer states is reversing. Muslims are having fewer and fewer children. The growth of Muslims in the United Kingdom has fallen compared to previous decades. Christians know how this ends. It ends with Muslims submitting themselves to the feet of the Lord Jesus. Not through persecution, not through violence, not through intimidation, but because there truly isn't anything left. Atheism isn't a choice. Islam certainly isn't a choice. The states have failed them. Ideologies have failed them. The only thing left is the Lord Jesus Christ. And one day, that will come to pass. But if you perhaps are considering not being a part of a religion that primarily has hateful and belittling texts that talk about Christians and Jews and polytheists, perhaps you should consider changing religion. Perhaps you should consider a religion based on love and not on blasphemy laws to avoid landslide apostasy. Whoever you are and whatever you might have done, Jesus is the only answer to finding peace and to finding meaning and value. God bless you all. I hope you have a great day. Take care.